My mother-in-law announced my miscarriage at a family dinner, and I ended up revealing her affair at her wedding anniversary party. Everything happened at exactly the right moment. I was 12 weeks pregnant when I felt a strange warmth running down my leg while I was at work. I ran to the bathroom, and when I looked, I saw blood staining my dress. I called Mac, shaking all over. "Is something wrong with the baby? I'm bleeding a lot. Come get me now." He answered immediately. "I'm on my way." "Stay where you are." I heard the sound of his keys and him rushing out. By the time they finally took me into a room, it was already too late. The doctor said it had been spontaneous, that there was nothing I could have done, but all I could think about was that little heart we had seen beating on the ultrasound 3 weeks earlier had stopped for no reason. Mac sat beside me on the hospital bed, covered his face, and cried. I reached out my hand to him and could only say, "I'm sorry." He lifted his head, wiped his tears, and said, "No, love, this isn't your fault." He pulled me against his chest, and we stayed like that until the nurse came in to explain the next steps. We agreed not to tell anyone until I felt ready. I told him, "I can't deal with your mother right now," and he agreed. "I understand. Whenever you're ready, we'll tell them. For now, no one needs to know." I trusted him. There was no reason not to. What I forgot was that keeping something from Lorena was almost impossible. She had a key to our house and showed up whenever she wanted. 3 days later, sitting on the kitchen floor, clutching a baby onesie I had bought, crying, I heard the door open. Lorena walked in, loaded with grocery bags, looking down at me with that tight-lipped, judgmental expression. "Well, this is quite a sight," she said, eyeing the tissues and the empty tub of ice cream. I wiped my face and murmured, "I wasn't expecting you here, Lorena." She remained indifferent, setting the bags on the counter. "Well, when Max said you weren't feeling well, I thought it was just the flu. Not this kind of drama in broad daylight." She looked at the onesie in my hands and frowned. "Is that baby clothing? Why are you crying over that, Elise?" I didn't want to tell her, but she looked at me in that way that says more than 1,000 words, and I ended up breaking down. "I lost the baby," I said, my voice trembling. 3 days ago. We weren't even going to tell the family yet." Lorena's face softened with a fake compassion that only someone who knows her well can recognize as forced. She knelt beside me and took my hands. "Oh dear, now everything makes sense. I thought it was just another one of your phases, a mood swing." I replied, "It's not a mood. I lost my baby." She squeezed my hands tighter. "I know you're blaming yourself. Even though the doctor says these things happen, especially in a first pregnancy, and even more so when the mother is very stressed." She tilted her head, evaluating me. "You're very stressed, aren't you? Working too much? Not taking care of yourself?" I told Mac a long time ago that you needed to slow down, but you never listen. I pulled my hands away. The doctor assured me it wasn't my fault. She nodded slowly. "Of course, doctors always say that, but we both know you could have taken better care of yourself, eaten better, rested more. You were never one to put family first." She patted my knee. "But there's no point in torturing yourself now." I asked her, almost begging, "Please don't tell anyone. I need time before the family knows." She put a hand to her chest and swore. "Imagine that. I would never betray your trust. I swear it on my marriage. I'll only tell them when you're ready. But someday the family has to know, right? They want a grandchild so badly it's not fair to hide it." On Friday, she called saying she was going to host a dinner just for close family, because we needed to be surrounded by those who love us. I didn't want to go. I said I wasn't ready to see anyone. She sighed deeply. "Elise, it's not just about what you want. Mac is suffering. He needs support. Or are you going to do what you always do and put yourself first?" I had no choice. I got dressed and let Mac drive me to his parents' house where 30 people were waiting in the dining room. I squeezed his arm and whispered, "You said close family." He replied, "I think my mother invited more people. Just hang in there." Lorena was parading among the guests, all elegant. When she saw me, she came over, held my face, and said loudly, "My goodness, dear, you look exhausted. Did you get any sleep at all? Look at those dark circles." Everyone stopped and stared. In the middle of dinner, Lorena stood up, raised her glass, and called for everyone's attention. I wanted to ask for prayers. My son has just lost his first baby, and I'm trying to be strong for him, but my heart is shattered. 30 faces turned toward me. Lorena sat back down, took my hand, and whispered, "Smile, or they'll think you're not grateful for the support." At that moment, I decided that in the morning I would make Mac choose between her and me. Lorena thought I would accept it in silence, like always, but she had just made the biggest mistake of her life. If she wanted to play the grieving grandmother, then she could explain why she broke her promise in front of her son. For the first time in 5 years, I wasn't afraid of what I would have to do if I stopped being the good one. I remember exactly how everything unfolded. The drive home was filled with cutting silence. About 10 minutes passed before Max spoke. He laughed nervously and said, "I know it wasn't what you were expecting today." I laughed out loud because I had never heard anything so absurd. "Not what I was expecting, Mac. Your mother told 30 people about our miscarriage after promising she wouldn't tell anyone." He tightened his grip on the steering wheel and muttered, "She just wanted to help. She thought you needed support." I turned toward him. "Did she think I needed support?" Or did she just want an audience? We pulled into the garage. He turned off the car and just sat there, staring at the door. "I want you to apologize to her," he said quietly. I thought I had heard him wrong. "What?" He looked at me with that calm expression he always used when he was about to ask me for something I didn't even want to hear. "You barely spoke to anyone all night? You didn't thank anyone for the dinner? You kept your head down, looking miserable. And now she's sad because she thinks you're angry with her." I was speechless. I am angry with her. She promised not to tell anyone about the baby and did exactly the opposite. I have every right to be upset. He sighed and rubbed his eyes, tired. "She made a mistake. She lost her head, but ignoring her all night was cruel. You need to apologize to her tomorrow." I got out of the car without answering. I went into the house. He followed me to the bedroom. "Elise, I'm serious. She called me crying on the way home. She thinks you hate her." I put on my pajamas and said, "Perfect. Maybe now she'll think about the reason why." He looked at me as if I were speaking another language. "You're exaggerating. She just wanted prayers. That's what family is for." I lay down and turned off the lamp. "If you can't see what she did, I'm not the one who's going to be able to explain it to you," I said. He stood there in the darkness for a moment, then left and went to sleep in the guest room. The next day, I woke up to 17 messages. Mac's aunt asking if I was okay because Lorena had called her, very worried about me. A cousin asking if I needed anything because she had heard I wasn't handling what happened very well. Another cousin saying Lorena mentioned my behavior was strange and asked whether I might not want to talk to a professional. An avalanche of messages from people I barely know, all concerned about my mental health, because Lorena had spent the entire night calling everyone and saying something was wrong with me. I went to show them to Mac, who was having coffee in the kitchen. "Look at this. Look at what she's doing." He looked and shrugged. "She's just worried about you. We all are. That's not concern. She wants everyone to believe I've gone crazy, so when I tell the truth, no one will take me seriously." Mac put his coffee down on the table. "Do you hear yourself? You sound like this is persecution. My mother just wants to help. She loves you and you treat her like a villain." I looked at him and knew he was never going to understand. 30 years of hearing that everything Lorena does is out of love wouldn't be undone by one conversation. Days later, a coworker stopped me in the hallway, asking if everything was okay at home. I asked why, and awkwardly she replied, "Your mother-in-law went to the prayer group at my church. She asked everyone to pray for you. She said you're not taking care of yourself, that you've been unwell since the pregnancy, that she's afraid you might hurt yourself." The floor disappeared beneath me. Lorena had even gone to my coworker's church. In front of strangers, she painted a picture of me as someone on the brink of harming herself. She was creating a story, setting the stage so that no one would believe me when the truth came out. I got home. Mac was watching television. "Your mother went to the church group and told them she thinks I might hurt myself." He lowered the volume. "She said she was looking for support for you. Honestly, I think that's good. You haven't been the same lately." I explained, "I'm not the same because I lost a baby. And your mother told half the world and then went around saying I'd gone crazy." He stood up and came toward me. He held my shoulders as if I were fragile. "Love, you need to talk to someone. A therapist. Mom knows a very good one from the church. She thinks you're not handling all this well. And to be honest, I'm starting to agree." I pulled away from him. "You want me to go to your mother's therapist so she can control everything once and for all?" He raised his hands. "See? That's what I'm talking about. It sounds like you think everyone is against you. That's not normal, Elise. It's not good for you." That night, he slept in the guest room. He said he needed space because I refused to apologize and to get help, that he didn't know what else to do. I stayed alone in our bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about how Lorena had managed to completely isolate me in less than 2 weeks. My husband thinks I'm crazy. His family thinks I'm crazy. Even my coworkers had started to suspect something. She took the most painful moment of my life and used it to destroy all my relationships. And she did it while crying and asking for prayers. The next day, I saw that Lorena had posted photos from the dinner on Facebook. It was her hugging me at the table, eyes closed, her face resting in my hair. The caption read, "Pray for my sweet daughter-in-law. In this difficult moment, she is suffering, but our family will give her strength." 200 likes, 40 comments praising the wonderful mother-in-law, people tagging me in mental health links. I took screenshots of everything and sent them to my best friend, Daniele. "Am I the one losing my mind, or is this sick?" She called me immediately. "What is wrong with that woman? Posting about your miscarriage on Facebook so everyone thinks you've lost it?" I told her everything. The dinner, the messages, the prayer group, Max sleeping in the guest room. Daniele was silent for a moment and then said, "You need to get out of there. That woman wants to destroy you, and your husband is helping her." I told her I couldn't, that I didn't know where to go. "Stay with me," she replied. "Seriously, Elise? What she's doing isn't normal. It's calculated. She's setting the stage for something, and you need to figure out what it is before she succeeds." I thanked her, hung up, and sat in the kitchen thinking about how my life had collapsed so fast. I lost my baby, I lost my husband, I even lost my name. Lorena was surrounded by pity and prayers, while I wandered alone through a house that no longer felt like mine. I agreed to help prepare her anniversary party, but I wasn't going to show up just to fold napkins. She thought she could leave me alone in the house because she had already convinced everyone I was the crazy one in the story. But women like Lorena always keep secrets, and I was willing to search every corner until I found something that showed who she really was. I had no idea what I was getting into when she handed me those keys. What I found in her closet changed absolutely everything. 2 weeks after the dinner, Lorena called me saying she needed help organizing the 30th wedding anniversary party. Kenneth traveled, he won't be back until Thursday, and I can't manage everything on my own, she said in that syrupy tone that always made me want to throw the phone against the wall. You'll help me, right? It would mean so much to me. I agreed because Mac was beside me at the time, and because I knew that if I refused, she would use it as more ammunition to go around telling people that I couldn't even support her for a little party. It would be one more item on her list of proof that I was problematic. On Saturday morning, I got in the car, drove to her house, and spent 3 hours carrying boxes and cleaning tables, while she supervised everything from the couch, always pointing out some flaw in what I did. The napkins have to be folded like swans, not rectangles, she said without looking up from her phone. And those arrangements need to go on the west side of the hall. The light is better there for photos. I just took deep breaths, rearranged, fixed things again. But all I wanted was to walk out that door and never come back. Around noon, she told me to go upstairs to get some chairs from her bedroom closet. They're all the way in the back, she shouted from behind the boxes. Just don't make a mess while you're looking. I went upstairs. I opened the closet door and found a huge space, filled with shelves, drawers, and hangers, everything arranged by color. I moved aside a few dresses, shifted some boxes, and found the chairs leaning against the back wall. In the process, I accidentally knocked a shoebox off the top shelf. It fell open, and a pile of receipts spilled out. I knelt down to gather them, and that was when I understood what they were. They were for extremely expensive jewelry. A diamond bracelet from 2 years ago, pearl earrings from last Christmas, a necklace worth more than my car. I had never seen Lorena wear any of those things, not even once. I was putting the receipts back when I heard her phone vibrate on the nightstand. She had probably forgotten it there when she opened the bedroom earlier. I should have ignored it, grabbed the chairs, and left, pretending I hadn't seen anything. But something made me step closer and look at the screen. There was a notification from someone named Emmanuel, with a heart next to his name. The beginning of the message read, "Last night was perfect. I can't stop thinking about you." A chill ran down my spine. Emmanuel. I knew that name very well. He was the deacon at Lorena's church, a family friend for years, always at her side during dinners, filling her glass, laughing at her jokes like no one else. I tried to convince myself it had to be another Emmanuel, or that the message meant nothing, that it was all in my head looking for reasons to distrust her. But my hands were already moving on their own. I picked up the phone and entered the password. I knew it by heart from watching her so often during family lunches, and it unlocked immediately. I opened the messages, found the conversation with Emmanuel, and started scrolling. "I already miss you. Only you understand me. Kenneth doesn't touch me like you do. I wish I had married you. 7 years of messages, 7 years of, I love you. I need you. You're my soulmate." And explicit descriptions that made my stomach turn. I kept scrolling with trembling hands and came across photos. Lorena naked, Emmanuel shirtless, what looked like a hotel room. The two of them together, lying in bed. Dates stamped on the images. Photos from a trip to Napa, a rendezvous in Lake Tahoe, Christmas Eve 2 years ago. The night she said she was going to bed early because she was tired. I left the messages, went to the gallery, and found a hidden album filled with images, hotel rooms, restaurant bills, screenshots of reservations in places she claimed she had visited with friends. I remembered the jewelry receipts. I went back to the closet and checked each piece purchased up to a week after those trips. Emmanuel had been giving her gifts she could never wear around her husband. They were hidden like trophies. I stood there, surrounded by proof of 7 years of lies, and felt something inside me change. This woman had destroyed my reputation, turned my husband against me, told 30 people that my baby had died, and then called me crazy when I fell apart. And all the while, she stood at the pulpit talking about fidelity and family values, while sleeping with the church's deacon. I pulled my phone out of my pocket and started saving everything. Messages, photos, receipts, screenshot after screenshot as fast as I could, storing everything on my phone. Then I put her phone back where it was, grabbed the chairs, and went downstairs saying, "Did I find where you want me to put them?" Lorena smiled from the couch, near the windows. "And really, thank you so much for the help. I know things haven't been easy between us, but I truly appreciate it." I smiled back. "Of course. We're family. That's what we're here for." I had no idea that I had just found everything I needed to bring her down. I spent the rest of the afternoon arranging chairs, hanging decorations, and watching Lorena give orders to everyone, while all I could think about was what I was going to do with all that information. Part of me wanted to tell Kenneth everything right then and there. He had every right to know what his wife had been doing for 7 years, but I knew that wasn't enough. Lorena humiliated me in public, stood up in front of everyone to announce my loss. Then she spent 2 weeks telling the entire town that I was unstable. She didn't deserve a private conversation. She deserved to taste her own poison, to be exposed, humiliated, and destroyed in front of the people she cared most about impressing. The anniversary party would be in 2 weeks. 200 guests celebrating 30 years of an exemplary marriage. a giant screen with a slideshow and a microphone for speeches. And there would be that hall full of people Lorena worked so hard to impress, all ready to praise a marriage she had been destroying long before I ever met Mac. I went home with my phone full of screenshots and an idea beginning to take shape in my mind. I had 7 years of evidence saved, and at last I was going to show Mac who the person he defended so fiercely really was. Lorena had no idea I had found her phone while she bragged downstairs about her faithful marriage. That night, my decision was made. I was going to sit my husband down with me and make him look at every message, one by one, until there was no possible excuse left. Now I'm going to tell you exactly how that conversation went. I waited for Mac to get home from work, sat him down at the kitchen table and said, "I need to show you something. I want you to look at it before you say anything." He let out that familiar sigh, as if I were just about to waste his time. But he sat down and said, "Fine. What is it?" I slid my phone across the table, already open to Emmanuel's messages. "I found this today on your mother's phone. She's been having a relationship with Deacon Emmanuel for 7 years." Mac took the phone and scrolled through the messages in silence for a long time. I watched him, waiting for the moment when everything would click, when he would finally understand everything I had always warned him about. But when he looked at me, there was no shock, no anger, no disappointment. It was pure contempt directed at me. "You went through my mother's phone?" he said. I froze. "Did you read what's there? She's been cheating on your father with the church deacon for 7 years. There are photos, conversations, everything." He stood up immediately and threw the phone onto the table. "I don't care what's on there. You invaded my mother's phone, stuck your nose where it didn't belong, and now you want to use this to turn me against her." I felt the ground disappear beneath me. I didn't invade anything. She left her phone upstairs, a notification popped up, and He cut me off. "Why are you so obsessed with proving that she's bad? You've been paranoid about her for weeks, and now you went through her phone looking for anything. Do you know how that sounds?" I grabbed the phone again, still trying to show him. "Look at the dates, Mac. She was with him on your parents' anniversary trip, on Christmas Eve. This isn't paranoia, it's proof." He just shook his head. "Either you made it all up. There are lots of apps to edit photos, create fake screenshots. You're doing all this out of jealousy over my relationship with her." I looked at him, and that was the moment I understood. He was never going to believe me. It didn't matter how much proof I showed him. He had spent his entire life believing every word his mother said, and nothing was going to change that. Not even proven infidelity. "I didn't make anything up," I murmured. "But you'll believe whatever you want." He headed for the door, but before leaving he said, "I'm going to sleep at my mother's house tonight. It'll do you good to spend some time alone thinking about what you did." And he left, leaving me sitting there, staring at the screenshots, unable to understand how Lorena always managed to come out on top, even when she had every reason to fall. The next day I woke up to a message from an unknown number. "I know what you found. Keep quiet or I'll tell everyone your miscarriage was your fault." My body froze instantly. I read the message 3 times, my hand trembling. She knew. Somehow she had already found out. And instead of worrying, she was threatening me. I called Mac. He didn't answer. I called again, straight to voicemail. I decided to go to Lorena's house and found them both there, together on the terrace, drinking coffee as if nothing had happened. As soon as I got out of the car, Lorena approached me with that practiced smile. "Good morning, dear. Did you sleep well? Mac mentioned you've been having trouble sleeping." I showed her the message. "Did you send this?" She just tilted her head, playing innocent. "Send what? I don't know what you're talking about." Mac took the phone, read it, and his face hardened. "I bet you sent it yourself to make it look like she did. Just like you made up those screenshots." Lorena hugged him, stroked his arm, and said, "Easy, my son. We know she isn't well. Maybe it's time to really seek help before she does something crazy." And that was when it became clear. Mother and son against me. Any private confrontation was useless. Lorena had spent 30 years training Mac to believe her over anyone else. She already had all the answers, the tears, the excuses. There was no way to win like that. If I truly wanted to expose the truth, I had to do it where she couldn't manipulate it, in front of everyone, so no one could question what they saw. The anniversary party would be 6 days later. 200 people, a giant screen, a microphone. The perfect stage for Lorena's real performance. If she wanted to celebrate 30 years of a faithful marriage, I was going to make sure everyone saw the reality. The private plan failed, so I was going to rip Lorena's mask off in front of everyone she wanted to impress. She thought she had won by putting Mac on her side, but she forgot about the 200 people coming to celebrate the perfect marriage. The party would have a microphone. It would have a screen, and I was going to use both. She wanted to parade as the exemplary wife, so I let her perform until the very last second. Come back to see what will happen at the party, because this story is far from over. On the day of the party, I stood in front of my closet for 20 minutes, not knowing what to wear. Mac hadn't set foot in the house for 4 days. He only sent messages asking whether I had calmed down yet. I grabbed a red dress I had bought years earlier and never wore because Lorena said that color didn't suit me. I did my makeup slowly, thinking about everything I was about to do, with the flash drive already inside my purse. I spent 5 days organizing every screenshot, sorting the photos, creating a timeline with dates, lies, and proof of the affair and of how Lorena had deceived Kenneth all those years. I went alone to the most elegant venue in the city. Crystal chandeliers, linen tablecloths, 200 guests gathered, ready to applaud 30 years of what they believed was a faithful marriage. As soon as I walked in, Lorena approached me smiling, arms open. "Elise, I'm so glad you came." She hugged me and whispered in my ear, "Smile, or everyone will think you're having another episode." I smiled back and replied, "I wouldn't miss this for anything, Lorena. Tonight is going to be unforgettable." She gave me a suspicious look, but someone called her right away, and she walked off, taking the opportunity to receive more compliments about the dress, the decorations, and the impeccable marriage. I sat at a table farther back and watched as the room filled with people who had no idea what was really being celebrated there. Kenneth was leaning against the bar, visibly uncomfortable in his suit. He was never a fan of big parties. Once he confessed to me that Lorena organized these things for herself, and that he just showed up where she told him to. Mac arrived quietly and sat down beside me without even looking at me. "I thought you weren't going to come," he murmured. I said I wasn't sure either, but I decided not to miss his mother's big night. He looked at me with a hint of hope. "Does that mean you're ready to apologize and put all this behind us?" I took my champagne glass, drank a long sip, and said, "I think tonight is going to change a lot of things, Mac. Let's see how it unfolds." The event began promptly at 7. Lorena had planned every detail, every second. First came the slideshow with photos from the 30 years of marriage, then the family and friends' toasts. After that, Lorena would go up to speak about the secret to a lasting marriage. Then dinner, dancing, and of course more tears, prayers, and thanks to God for the wonderful husband she claimed to have. I watched the slideshow and looked at 3 decades of frozen smiles. Lorena and Kenneth at the altar, Lorena holding baby Mac, trips, holidays, birthdays, an entire life recorded in photos that showed the version of the story Lorena wanted everyone to believe. And then the toasts began. Mac's aunt spoke about how Lorena was the pillar of the family. A friend from church praised her devotion to her husband and her faith. The pastor called her an example of a Christian woman. Emmanuel stood up to speak. He walked to the microphone, champagne glass in hand, calm smile. He was tall, elegant, with gray at his temples, that confident air of someone who holds many other people's secrets. "I've known Lorena and Kenneth for almost 15 years, he said, "and I can assure you I've never seen a more devoted couple. Their marriage is an inspiration to us all. The way they support each other, how they always put family first. They built a life based on faith, love, and commitment." He raised his glass, wishing them another 30 years like that. Everyone toasted, and I saw Lorena wipe her eyes, moved, while Emmanuel sat back down next to his wife, the same wife who had no idea that for 7 of those 15 years, her husband had been sleeping with Lorena. Lorena stood up to take the microphone, and I knew that was the moment. The speech about the secret of a lasting marriage, the pretty words about trust, communication, and never going to bed angry. I reached into my purse. I felt the flash drive there, waiting for the right moment. 30 years, Lorena began, that perfectly rehearsed emotion in her voice. 30 years ago, I married my best friend, and there isn't a single day that goes by that I don't thank God for being able to share my life with him. She looked at Kenneth, eyes full of tears. "We've gone through many difficulties. Every marriage has its crises, but we always chose each other. We always put family first, and we never broke the vows we made before God and all of you." I stood up. My chair scraped against the floor. Some people turned around. Lorena stopped mid-sentence, and her smile faltered when she saw me walking onto the stage. "Elise," she said into the microphone, "what are you doing?" I climbed the steps, walked straight toward her, and said, "I just wanted to add a few words to your speech, if you don't mind." Lorena's face went through a succession of expressions: surprise, distrust, and then a forced smile. "Of course, dear. What would you like to say?" She handed me the microphone, and I looked at the 200 people. I searched for Kenneth at the head table. I saw Mac almost petrified. Emmanuel was already shifting uneasily in his chair, as if he sensed something was wrong. I pulled the flash drive from my purse and held it up so everyone could see it. The slideshow was already set. All that was missing was the exact moment to bring Lorena's farce to an end. She had no idea that I had already prepared the flash drive, hidden behind the wedding anniversary photos. All I had to do was give the signal to the sound booth, and everyone would see the messages and photos on the screen, in front of 200 guests. For the first time at that party, I was in control. The moment had arrived. Lorena grabbed my wrist before I could reach the projector. Her grip was firm, her nails digging into my skin, but her smile didn't even tremble. "Elise, dear, let's get some air," she murmured through clenched teeth. "You don't look well at all." I pulled my arm free and replied, "On the contrary, I've never felt better in weeks." She leaned in and whispered, "If you do anything crazy now, I'll destroy you. I'll tell everyone you had a breakdown. I'll have you committed. I'll make sure Mac never looks at you again." I whispered back, "Isn't that what you already did? What more do you have left?" For a split second, her smile nearly cracked. She recovered and spoke loudly so the nearby tables could hear. "Go ahead, say a few words. After all, we're all family here." She stepped aside and gestured toward the microphone, but I could already see the calculations in her eyes, trying to imagine what I could do outside her control, wondering if I had any proof she couldn't erase. Before I could head toward the sound booth, Lorena grabbed my arm hard, disguising it as a false caress, and dragged me down the hallway. "We need to talk first," she hissed. Alone, she shoved me into a closet and locked the door. In the darkness, I finally saw who she really was. No mask, no sweetness, only cold calculation. "I know you found something," she said. "Mac told me you went through my phone. It doesn't matter what you think you have. It won't work. I spent 30 years building my reputation here. 30 years being the woman everyone trusts. And you, in 2 weeks, behaved like an unbalanced person, incapable of getting over the baby's death." My entire body tensed at those words. "I didn't lose a baby," I said quietly. "My baby died. There's a difference." Lorena dismissed it. "It's all the same. What matters is that no one will believe you over me. You could even have recorded everything on video, and no one would believe you because I already told everyone how you became unstable, paranoid, obsessed with destroying me." She stepped so close that the smell of her perfume, mixed with champagne, surrounded me. "So listen carefully. You're going to go back out there, smile, applaud my speech, and pretend you're the perfect daughter-in-law. Then you go home, pack your things, file for divorce, and disappear from my son's life forever. If you do that quietly, I won't tell anyone what really happened with your miscarriage." A chill ran through my body. "What exactly do you mean by that?" She smiled in the cruelest way I had ever seen. "I mean, everyone knows stress can cause a miscarriage. And you were a mess, weren't you? Working late, arguing with Shane about the baby, knowing he didn't want one, pushing until your body couldn't take it anymore." She tilted her head. "That will be the story, if you force me. That you wanted a baby so badly you ignored all the signs. You kept working, didn't rest, and ended up causing your own tragedy because you didn't know how to stop." I looked at her, trapped in that dark closet full of coats, and understood I was facing someone without limits, capable of inventing anything and stepping over anyone to protect herself. Someone who saw me as disposable the moment I became a problem. "Do you know what hurts me the most?" I said almost in a whisper. "I truly believed you could love Shane. I thought everything you did was maternal instinct, twisted as it was. But the truth is, you don't love anyone, do you? Not Kenneth, not Shane, not Emmanuel. What you love is being adored." Her expression changed. Maybe surprise, maybe because she finally saw herself reflected. "You don't know what you're talking about," she tried to reply, but without conviction. "I found the jewelry," I said. "The diamond bracelet, the pearls, the necklace, all of Emmanuel's gifts you can't wear around Kenneth. All hidden in the closet like trophies, like proof of how desired you still are." Her face went almost completely pale in the dim light. "It wasn't love, it wasn't family. It never was. It was all about making sure everyone saw you as perfect. You wanted to be desired. You want to be the center of everything." Suddenly, Amanda Lorena lunged for my neck. She didn't squeeze hard enough to truly hurt me, but the message was unmistakable. "You know nothing about my life," she hissed. "You have no idea what it's like to give yourself completely to a family that doesn't value you, to smile, pretend, sacrifice yourself for 30 years and still be invisible." I calmly pushed her hand away and said, "Actually, I never will, because I would never do what you did just to be seen." I walked past her, opened the closet door, and returned to the party. She came out behind me, smiling that forced smile as if it were her armor. "Eli, wait!" she called, trying to sound sweet. "You forgot your purse." I ignored her and went straight to the projection booth. I handed the flash drive to the technician. "Please add this to the presentation. When I give the signal, play it." He looked a little confused, but plugged in the USB. I walked to the microphone. Lorena stood beside the stage, shooting me a murderous look. She still had no idea what I had. She still believed she could fix everything. She didn't know what she had built was about to collapse. "I want to thank everyone for being here tonight," I began, trying to keep my voice steady despite my racing heart. "Lorena planned this party for months. 30 years of marriage, 30 years of fidelity, 30 years of putting family first." I paused deliberately and looked at her. She was frozen, the smile still glued to her face. "Before we continue the celebration, I think it's only fair that everyone here knows what those 30 years were really like." I gave the signal to the booth. The screen behind me changed. The wedding photos disappeared and a message appeared. "Last night was perfect. I can't stop thinking about you." Then a photo of Lorena with Emmanuel in a hotel room, taken 5 years earlier. Then another message. "I wish I had married you and not Kenneth." The room fell into absolute silence. I saw hundreds of people trying to understand. I saw Emmanuel's wife cover her mouth in horror. I saw all the color drain from Kenneth's face as he read the messages on the screen. I saw Lorena's smile vanish completely. "These messages span 7 years, I continued. 7 years of lies, 7 years of infidelity. 7 years in which Lorena preached about faithful marriage while sleeping with the church's deacon. Lorena tried to run toward the projector, but 2 of Shane's cousins blocked her path. Emmanuel tried to leave, but 3 groomsmen nearby, drawn by the commotion, cut him off. She told 30 people about my miscarriage after promising to keep it secret, I went on. She told everyone I was unstable. She even turned my husband against me. And all of this while writing to her lover that she wished she had married him. Kenneth stood up, walked to the screen, and began reading the messages one by one, his face completely blank. When he reached the one from their 25th anniversary, the one where Lorena wrote, "I wish I were with you today, not with him," he removed his ring, looked at Lorena for a few seconds, and then threw it at her face before walking out the front door without saying a word. Half of the guests went after him. Nearly 200 people witnessed, in real time, the end of Lorena's marriage, while she was still desperately trying to find a way out. She grabbed the microphone and shouted that I was a liar, crazy, jealous. But the photos kept playing, and every word she said only made things worse. I stripped everything from her in front of all the people she had spent her life trying to impress. I thought that would be the end, but Lorena still tried to appeal. She screamed that I was lying, that the photos were fake, that I had invented everything because I was jealous and unstable. No one was listening anymore. Emmanuel's wife picked up a glass of champagne and threw it at Lorena. The glass smashed against the wall. Emmanuel tried to run, but 3 of Shane's cousins grabbed him, pinned him against the wall, and started asking him how long he'd been having a relationship with their aunt. The pastor, who just minutes earlier had praised Lorena as an example of a Christian woman, now stood frozen, mouth open, staring at his phone with the messages between her and Emmanuel on the screen. 2 women from the church were crying, holding each other, repeating that they couldn't believe it, that they had trusted her. At the entrance of the hall, the waiters had stopped serving and were staring in shock at the chaos, as if none of it could be real. Emmanuel's wife pushed through the crowd until she stood in front of him. 7 years? She shouted, her voice breaking. 7 years having an affair with her? We have children, Emmanuel, a life together. How could you do this to us? Emmanuel was still cornered against the wall by Shane's cousins, his face red and sweaty. It's not what you think, he kept repeating. Those messages are old. That ended a long time ago, love. Please, you have to believe me. The dates are from last month. One of the cousins spoke loudly so everyone could hear. There's one here from Tuesday saying he's desperate to see her again. Emmanuel's wife let out a scream of pain and stepped back. Her daughters, who were sitting at a nearby table, ran to hug her as she cried. Emmanuel tried to call out to them, but in the middle of the uproar, no one heard him. The pastor finally found his voice. "People, this is a house of God," he said quietly. "Let's try to remain calm and resolve this privately." "A house of God?" someone shouted from the back. "Your deacon has been having an affair with a married woman for 7 years, and you want us to calm down?" The pastor fell silent. Lorena kept screaming into the microphone. "This is all a lie. She made this story up. She's been trying to destroy me since the day she met my son. Ask Shane. Ask him who she really is." She pointed at Shane, who stood frozen. "Tell them she's crazy. Tell them she's out of her mind." Shane slowly stood up, and all eyes turned to him. He looked at his mother, then at the screen showing the photo of her in bed with Emmanuel, and then at me, standing at the microphone with a flash drive in my hand. "Is it true?" he asked, quietly but clearly enough for the entire room to hear. "Did you betray Dad for 7 years?" Lorena's face collapsed into tears. "Shane, my son, try to understand. Your father hasn't touched me in years. Emmanuel and we understand each other. It wasn't like that. I still love your father. I just needed someone to see me." "Is it true?" Shane interrupted. "Yes or no?" Lorena broke down even harder. "Yes, but it's not my fault. You have no idea what my marriage is like. Your father is cold, distant, and Emmanuel made me feel alive again. He understands me." Shane turned his back on her and walked out of the room without listening to the rest. Lorena screamed his name and ran after him, but she tripped when her heel got caught on the edge of the stage. She tried to grab onto the anniversary cake table, but couldn't support her weight. Everything collapsed along with her, and she fell face first into the 3-tier white cake, covered in frosting. For a few seconds, no one reacted. Lorena lay there, in the middle of the ruins of her own wedding anniversary cake, crying, covered in frosting, with 200 guests watching in absolute silence, until someone in the back started laughing. Soon the laughter spread through the crowd, half of them laughing, the other half recording with their phones. Lorena got up on her knees, frosting dripping through her hair, her expensive dress ruined, mascara running like black rivers down her cheeks. She looked around at all the people who for years had sworn she was perfect, but all she found was contempt, pity, and barely hidden giggles. "Stop recording," she screamed. "Stop right now. This is a family matter. It's private. You have no right. You lost the right to privacy when you made my miscarriage public," I said loudly into the microphone. "Now everyone is going to see who you really are." I stepped down from the stage and headed for the door. Emmanuel's wife stopped me along the way. "Thank you. I suspected it for years, but I never had proof." I nodded and kept walking. Lorena was now screaming my name. Elise, Elise, come back. You can't just leave. You destroyed everything. You ruined my family. Elise." I was close to the door when Shane appeared in front of me, pale, his eyes full of tears. He looked like someone who had just watched his world collapse. "How could you do this?" he asked. How could you humiliate my mother like this in front of everyone? I looked at him and felt a coldness grow in my chest. She told 30 people about my miscarriage after promising she would never say anything. She told everyone I was crazy. She threatened me, said she would spread the story that the miscarriage was my fault. And even then, you always chose her. Every time you took her side. He shook his head. She's my mother. And I was your wife, I interrupted. And not once did you choose me. I pulled the disposable phone I had taken from Lorena's closet the day I discovered the messages out of my purse and placed it in his hand. Everything is there. Every message, every photo, every lie she told your father over these 7 years. I was going to show you everything in private, give you the chance to deal with it as a family, but you chose to believe I made it all up. You said I was crazy. You went to live with her, and you let her threaten me. So I did it the only way she left me. I walked past him and continued toward the exit, listening to Lorena screaming my name and crying desperately, begging for help to get up. I didn't look back. I stepped into the cold night air and walked to my car. My hands were shaking as I unlocked the door. I got in and sat there for a long time. I had just destroyed my mother-in-law's marriage and reputation in front of 200 people, blown up what remained of my own marriage, burned every bridge with a family that had welcomed me 5 years earlier, and I felt no guilt, no sorrow. I felt only relief, freedom. For the first time since the day Lorena revealed my miscarriage to everyone, I truly breathed. My phone vibrated. A message from Daniele. I saw on Facebook that there was a mess at the party. Are you okay? What happened? I replied. I'll tell you everything. Can I sleep there tonight? She answered immediately. I'm already getting your room ready. Come, don't worry. I started the car, left the parking lot, and drove straight to Daniele's apartment without looking back, leaving behind the hotel where my mother-in-law was still covered in cake, crying and saying I had ruined her life. But she ruined mine first. I just gave it back in the same coin. If this story shocked you, subscribe, leave a like, and share your opinion in the comments. Reading what you think and feeling your support makes all the difference for this channel. Thank you for being here.